kind of thing. Hello, VC. Hello, vinyl community. Yes, you. This is Dom, aka Seeking a Thread, bringing you another one of my vinyl absorptions, the series I've started last year, in which I discuss in more detail records I have gotten of recent that I have given adequate amount of time to appreciate and digest. So it's not just like, hey, check this out. It's more like, hey, check this out, blah, 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 ramble. You know, give you some information. Perhaps maybe interest yourself on these records. Anyway, we're going to do number 18 in this series. It's another sort of mix of all kinds of things. A few I've shown before, but not really gotten into based on, well, I'll explain as I get to them. But As you see this, I may be on tour. I don't know when I'll get this video out exactly, but on Tuesday, June 10th, we leave for DC. The band Material Objects, that is my band. We just released this record in revision. Just came out Friday, June 6th. You can still order it. Black vinyl. You can see my videos that I've posted about this record. I won't get into it right now, but CD, record, shirts available. And of course, we'll be selling them on tour. Tour June 10th, DC, June 11th, Durham, North Carolina. June 12th in Asheville, June 13th, Knoxville, June 14th, Charlottesville. Those are the dates. You can find out more info below. So let's start with a little bit of indie rock. In a way, classic indie rock. Probably should resurrect that series. But I thought I would put this one in here because it's technically a new release. Now, one of the last Unrest records I was looking for that didn't have, one I've long had on CD. There's like a 7-inch box set edition of this. But I've been waiting to get the UK press on 4AD. And I did. It finally came up for a nice price. Here's the inner sleeve. This is from 1993. Again, like I said, on the 4AD label. And I'll get into the band if you don't know. But the reason why it came up for a nice price, someone was deciding to sell it. And I didn't even know this was coming out. But a deluxe edition of Perfect Teeth. Now, this was given to me as a gift. A birthday gift or a late birthday gift. No, this was coming out. So I have both copies. The reissue here in my hands is the first US pressing of it. It came out on CD here. And I think a reissue of that 7-inch box set. But the proper LP version was only UK. And so I've got both here. Now, who is Unrest? This is an excellent classic DC band led by Mark Robinson. And he's done other bands like Air Miami. A couple solo projects, but he led the Team Beat label, a DC or Virginia-based label. This band goes way back to like the mid '80s, and their best records kind of are their last few records. Imperial FFFFFR, I really love that one, and this one. I've had this on CD since a long time. Around the turn of the century, I got into this record. This is a band that many of you will know, but out of DC, they're not necessarily punk. Maybe they're punk in ethos, but they're more of a sort of jangly indie pop, or not even indie pop, but a jangly indie band with hooks. They're not afraid to have hooks. They formed in '93. Like I said, I feel like they came into their own on this record and Imperial FFFR, which I have them here, but this was the one where I think was their most classic, and it's their final record even. They've sort of broke up after this. But one of the cool notes about Perfect Teeth here was recorded at Pachyderm Studios just after In Utero was recorded there, which is sort of an interesting footnote. Doesn't sound like In Utero or anything, but just cool that, that legendary session where Nirvana was recording there in secret in the middle of winter in Minnesota, I believe. I don't know how they ended up there, but they did. This is sort of like one of their main, this cover, Robert Mapplethorpe's cover of I'll have to insert her name after, but she's sort of like almost like a totem for the band. I probably can find it here, but it's Mark Robinson, Phil Kruth, and Bridget Cross. Brian Paulson engineered this, mixed by Brian Paulson and Unrest. Brian Paulson worked on Slint, Spiderland, I believe. I think I have that right off the top of my head. Let's see, cover star, yes, Kath Carroll, that's right, that's who she is. Sort of an interesting character. But Unrest uses only Silvertone brand guitar amplifiers because they want the best. That's a brand I use, in fact. But this is a really fun, catchy, anthemic record, classic indie record. The song Makeout Club inspired me. I mean, I love that song. Like, just some of the most fastest, strumming that you can ever really imagine on a tune. And it's a record, it's a band that sort of brings to mind a lot of nostalgia, a lot of 90s nostalgia, just sort of being a kid and running around and not really having any any real serious problems. Just a little more carefree. You know, there's it's like a lot of like young love type ideas and crushes and pretty sweet memories for me. But it feels like that's memories for them too when they sing on this record. And so I still do have this 30th anniversary edition, yes, with the bonus LP Extra Teeth, which includes B-sides, of course. They do Goodbye, which is Marine Girls, I believe it is. I think that's the Marine Girls, yeah. And yeah, it's a nice package. It's a clear vinyl edition. I think it's, you know, deluxe sleeves and all that. So if you don't know this record, get this reissue. The original UK has come down in price, apparently, as I found out, but it was up near $75-$80. So check this out. Unrest, Perfect Teeth. We'll give you a track. And yeah, if you don't know that one, check it out. Oh, and by the way, we're listening to a record that I'm not officially talking about today, but it's one I've been meaning to replay, and it's Modern Dance Environments #2 with Craig Kupka. Craig Kupka, known for his 2 records on Folkways, Crystals, and Clouds. Sort of early 80s atmospheric ambient, but he's a trombonist. And this is sort of an interesting piece of different musicians, including here Roland Tripp, Norman Bede, Kenny Sawhill, and Jeff Cooper are also the artists on this. There's a volume 1 of this, which I don't have. I do want that. So that's what we are listening to right now. We're going to let that roll. Probably will be new to many of you. It's a new release from 2023, released in the UK, and it's by a duo, Ben Chasny and Rick Tomlinson. This is one that was new to me. It was on the Voix label. It's a UK release and a UK label. I didn't know about this one. Jamie, Infinite Sound, had talked about this one at some point. Hope he comes back with a video or two. Well, this is a beautiful guitar duo record. Recorded live in 2017, but not released until 2023. There they are, Chasny and Tomlinson. Chasny, I believe, is there, right? And he's known for 6 Organs of Admittance. Rick Tomlinson, a little bit lesser known, but he did a group called Voice of the Seven Woods, which I have here somewhere. Well, I didn't find the Voice of the Seven Woods, but I did find my other Unrest records. This is a beautiful duo record with one piece of drone music that is recorded, that is the B-side, much of the B-side, Paths of Ocean, Currents, and Wind Belts, which is a very slow developing drone-y piece. No guitars on that. It's kind of an outlier for the rest of the record, but it's really sweet, really beautiful. Yeah, just recorded live in a room in the South Pennines, June 2017. Chasny and Tomlinson also employing tape loops, echo chambers, and ring modulators. I think that's mainly what's on that drone piece. Mastered by Andrew Lyles. A really nice guitar record. Unfortunately, this one's mainly in the UK. Finally, someone was selling it in the US. And I was happy to finally see it because it's one I've been looking for ever since Jamie recommended it in a video. That's it. It's just called what is it? Oh, Waves. Waves is the title. Beautiful guitar duo record. You know that I'm going to be a sucker for those. Is a bit of a post-punk, post-disco one-off. This is a band I discovered through the compilation that adorns the same cover that is called On Emotional Rescue. It's called Get It Right. You can see it uses that same image, but this also includes some great stuff. Talisman, Animal Magic, Excerpts, I love that song. Electric Guitars, Scream and Dance, of course, and Ivory Coasters. This is a great comp, and it alerted me to this Scream and Dance, which did get reissued as a proper 12-inch on the Lantern label, but this is the original pressing. I've been, again, trying to sort this one out. I wanted the 12-inch. There's a 7-inch edition of this. I know Stunty found a copy of this in Den Bosch. He's been a fan of this. This is great. Minimal post-punk, sort of post-disco. A little more on the dance side of things than the punk side of things. One and only release. This, like I said, there's a 7-inch version of this, but this one includes 2 extra songs that are remixes. They're out of Bristol. They're sort of early 80s, by the way, if you didn't know, very obvious. Compatriots with Maximum Joy, Blue Airplanes, and Rip Rig and Panic, sort of coming from that sort of scene, as well as with some of the bands I mentioned from the comp. Emotional Rescue did that one, by the way. And this is just so good. Really hits hard. 45 RPM, you know that's a good thing. And there's like other interesting, there's not just guitars in this and bass. You have bongos, sansa, nal, woodblock, congas, bells, drums, cowbell. So adding in a little bit of like added percussion to make this a little extra bit interesting. So yeah, it's in rhythm, in pink and black, and Giacometti. And Giacometti, I love that song, Giacometti. Very sort of minimal too. This is just excellent. It's on the recommended label. No, not the recommended, the recreational label. And that's the label that is highlighted on that Get It Right comp. So I had to get this from the UK, but it was only like 20 pounds, so that I was able to get it for a good price. I love that one. Indie stuff, but this one we're going to go to Flying Nun. This is what I want to save for a Flying Nun update, which I will hopefully get to soon, and with a certain collaborative effort on that. But this is one that, like one of those originals that I was like high in the list to replace as soon as possible. It's an absolute highlight from the Flying Nun catalog. This is The Great Unwashed, and Clean Out of Our Minds is the title. This is David Kilgore and Hamish Kilgore, following the first breakup of The Clean. Now, The Clean, of course, was a legendary band from that time. Didn't release an album. They had the legendary singles like Tally Ho, Getting Older, the 12-inch, Boodle Boodle Boodle. They had 2 or 3 12 inches, 2 singles. One of the, major exports from New Zealand. And they broke up. I think just who knows why. Robert Scott went to do the Bats. And the Kilgore brothers did The Great Unwashed. And this was a pretty quick thing. And the drummer, what was his name? Ross Humphreys. No, bass player, Ross Humphreys. Hamish was the drummer. But Ross Humphreys was in a bunch of bands like Scorched Earth Policy, Pin Group, big one there, Thermals, Balter Space. Peter Gudridge passed away, but he made that amazing record called Pure. He was in Snapper. A very early incarnation of The Clean, and another band called The Puddle. But they're not on this. They're on the singles comp that I also have, which is amazing. This is just the Kilgore brothers making this LP. And, Flying Nun at this time was not known for LPs. It was known for 12-inch, 45 RPM EPs. But one of the cool things, as you know, is all the amazing artwork, always with custom labels. So this is an amazing record, though. I mean, the songs are so good. It's almost like a psych folk record or an acid folk record. It's not jangle pop. There's so much cool stuff on here, like really mellow, quiet stuff, and then there's like just strange experiments. They're playing everything, mostly guitar and bass and drums, but there's some auto harp on here, added percussion, mainly that kind of thing. But this is like a lo-fi masterpiece. This is like Tall Dwarfs influencing the lo-fi movement, 4 tracks. Yeah, this is of that ilk. LP financed by Helen Kilgore, and recorded some of it, and recorded at her house, some of it anyway. 1983. There's some really cool songs. Hold On to the Rail, I really love. The first song is a really sort of lovely intro. Hello, is Ray there? Small Girl is a really cool, hushed little acoustic song. This is a classic Flying Nun record. I fucking love it. It's so good. To finish with the clean and make such a odd left turn, they just wanted to put music out, and that's what they did. So, yeah, there's lots of just weird fragments, experimental bits. There are some pop moments too. It's an experimental record, and someone that I could hear like Lou Barlow, Sebadoh really being influenced by this. So, The Great Unwashed, Clean Out of Our Minds. There's a newer reissue of it. I had the first reissue of it, and then there's a newer one that I don't know who issued it. So there's definitely cheaper ways to get this. That one. Well, no, there's been a New Zealand a dealer, a U.S. dealer on Instagram selling almost like every Flying Nun release, but that one I got from my old pal, Smooth Sick Lights. Some jazz, and this is a jazz artist I'm really kind of collecting, and I have another record that I'm just getting into, but this one I got a month or so ago. Spaces by Doug Hammond. I'm basically trying to close out his Idibib catalog. He was out of Michigan. This is recorded in New York. Doug Hammond is known for having that record with I'm forgetting who the artist is, on Tribe, which is like $1,000 and up record. Don't have that reissue even, but I'd like to get, maybe I would get that reissue, even though I'm not really buying reissues. But that's a Tribe What Now Again release. I think that's from '75. I've shown a couple of other Doug Hammond records, and this is the newest one, other than the one I just got, that you'll probably see in a future video. This is from 1982. And big reason to grab this is Bayard Lancaster, who's playing alto and flute on this, and Steve Coleman, listed here on the back here. He's one of the main composers on this record, along with Hammond. Munir Abdul Fattah on cello is really one of the standout members on this record. Just really upfront cello that's like angular and really stabs. This one cuts. And Hammond is just a great drummer. I mean, he's just great. His patterns and his fills are just really interesting, and they're very frenetic and like not jazz in a way. It's almost it just sounds like someone talking a lot of the times. He's so good. Also, Kirk Lightsey is a figure who sort of measures in a lot of classic jazz. And the interesting thing about this, I read, you see him kind of dressed up here and dressed up there. Apparently, he recorded this on the same day that he was a guest or was going to Thelonious Monk's funeral in New York City, because this was recorded in New York. Yeah, that's so I read that somewhere, so that's apparently what was going on. But yeah, Bayard Lancaster is kind of his signature, sort of like melodic and very sort of almost, vocal style on the flute and alto. You can tell when he's playing here. So it's free but lyrical, and like I said, really angular. There's really stabbing moments to this. There's a spoken word piece. I think it's To My Family. Yeah, I think that's it. Or, yeah, because the first piece is on 3 bands, but it's listed as 1 track, it's a suite, Spaces and Things. Some really just out there stuff. And this is free jazz, but this isn't the kind of free jazz that is erratic and sort of like noise or whatever, or beats you over the head, which I do like. But this one is just a little more nuanced, a little more of orchestrated, you might say. Snakeput Strut is another one that stands out, with Fattah just right in your face on the cello. really, I'm really loving the Doug Hammond stuff, and that's why he's closing out some of his stuff has been important to me. Steve Coleman has done a bunch of ECM sessions, a really big recording history. Same with Lightsey. Lightsey is only on the first suite, I believe. A lot on this record. This one's just dense and very colorful. Highly recommend this. There's a reissue of this from the manufactured label. This one isn't crazy expensive though. I just had to wait for the right price. There was a copy sitting on Discogs for like a median price. It was sitting for like a year. I had it just sitting in my cart. No one was budging on it. I finally emailed the seller like, hey, would you do this for a reduced price? And they were quick to do it. We settled up offline, this has become like the main way I buy records now is working with sellers through Discogs a lot of times, but not on Discogs, So tends to be a little risky, but if you're using goods and services or the dealer, you'll be all right. So I didn't show the labels yet. Let me do that. Sort of a plain Idibib label, Spaces by Doug Hammond, 1982. Things moving with some more jazz. The Art Ensemble of Chicago, the Advancement Association of Creative Musicians, right? Anyway, People in Sorrow, one of their most heralded records. This is a 1978 Japanese press. I got this at Soul Stop in Buffalo when I was there playing a show for a pretty good price. It's super clean and super nice shape. It's not too bad of a expensive record to get, or an original. It's a French original on the Path label originally. This is on the EMI Odeon. This is like one of their more palpable, like less free, still free, but I'd say, yeah, it just goes down a little easier. At times feels like ambient music, and it's very quiet. Lots of space and sort of emptiness to this one. Still some bursts and spurts, and where it'll still sort of surprise you with some hollers or some crash, cymbal crash or something, but quite mellow actually, very atmospheric. This is the quartet: Joseph Jarmon, Malachi Favors, Lester Bowie, and Roscoe Mitchell. Sort of some of the key members of the AACM or of the Art Ensemble. So yeah, I don't have a ton more to add to it. This is a really beautiful, I wouldn't call it beautiful, I'd call it, I don't want to just say interesting, but it makes you think, this one. And it's a nice, actually I listened to this again this morning and it really felt good. So I'm gonna keep it moving. Art Ensemble of Chicago, People in Sorrow. Upgrade this to the French press at some point, but nice to get this in person at an excellent store in Buffalo, Soul Stop. All right, here's an archival release and a new release on the Moved by Sound. Technically, it's a 2024 release, but I think it's more like copyright 2024. But I got this from Soundome this year. Michael Gregory Jackson, guitar player, and much of part of the loft scene in New York. Let's see. Yeah, it was recorded back in 1977, never released. And speaking of the AACM, we have some of the Midwest, the Black Artist Group. Yeah, the Bag musicians, Julius Hemphill, Abdul Wadud, and Firin Aklaf joining on alto, cello, and drums respectively. This is a double album though, beautiful, really nice sleeve. It's called Frequency Equilibrium Cone, which is the first cut on this. This was recorded Let's see. Recorded live at the Ladies Fort, 2 Bond Street. That's probably one of those loft-type venues. And he talks all about meeting the musicians he played here. And this one is kind of a scorcher. Here he is, I think, from that session. Beautiful package. You have Gregory playing electric guitar, acoustic, body percussion, chimes, bamboo flutes, and he's recording. And then Hemphill on alto, Abdul Wadud on cello, of course, and Aklaf on drums. Very nice archival release. Really enjoyed this. I played this about 3 times all the way through. But he apparently recorded this live to a cassette, and it sounds excellent. It's great quality on this, and a really good example of the loft scene, like what it was like, musicians just getting together and creating, and less about making records and art, or I should say less about making records and making, money, and more about just being creative and sort of collaborating and being communal in that way. I definitely recommend you checking this one out. On the Moved by Sound label, Michael Gregory Jackson. Still looking for some of his other records. I haven't been able to get them. Not too hard to get, but one of these points I'll get them. On to some psychedelic and cosmic music, and with this one I have a mistake. No, it wasn't a mistake to finally replace my reissue of Harmonia's Deluxe. I know it's not, for many people, this Harmonia pales in comparison to Music Von, but I love this one too, and it's kind of feels a little bit like a Michael Rother solo album. Of course, Harmonia is Rother from Neu, Dieter Mobius and Hans-Joachim Rodelius started as a band in itself and recording at their home studio in Forst. Cluster's home studio. It's basically Cluster and Neu together without Ralf Hoctor, or I should say not Ralf Hoctor, Klaus Stinger, the drummer from Neu. But this is their second album, and it comes at a time when they were about to start working with Eno, and they came together kind of as in a last ditch. I think it was, Neu was finishing up, Cluster was still going, but I think Rother was starting to move on to other things, but he came together with them one more time to make this record. And there's some idea that it's more like a Rother solo record, like I said, with these guys sort of contributing. I guess there was a little bit of friction, but it's still a beautiful album, a little more of a rock album, you might say, whereas Music Von is just like this other thing. It's a beautiful album. It feels like they were truly collaborating and really inspired. This one is inspired too, but like I said, it feels almost like a Neu record than anything else. And maybe it was what Rother was intending when he wanted to have Rodelius and Dieter Mobius back him. But I said mistake at the top because I've been wanting the Green Brain version, as I have a Green Brain of the first album. Well, Craig Moore, yep, it is on Brain that I have. Craig Moore, the seller in Portland. He had a Green Brain for a decent price that I looked at, didn't buy. I've been being pretty careful these days, but it appeared to sell, and I thought he listed another copy for a cheaper price on eBay, because he usually lists on eBay and Discogs. And I bought off eBay, and I didn't look closely at his notes, and sure enough, he listed it was the orange label, so I mistakenly bought. It was going to be an amazing price if I bought this. It was Green Brain, so I bought the second press mistakenly, but price wasn't too bad, and this is a nice copy. The sleeve has got a little bit of a laminate peel there, but it is a German, first reissue with these labels. Certainly not as cool and striking as the Green Brain, but it's what I have. I'm going to stick with it for now. We'll see if I can upgrade it. Maybe something that one of the record fairs. But a classic. You need the 2 Harmonia records if you ask me. So happy to have it and happy to replace the reissue that I had. I had the box set, and now I have just the 2 sole Harmonia records. And I do have the Eno Harmonia Traces and Tracks 76, which is an archival release, as well as another archival release. So progressive music, and as you know, I had, and these are some of the records I'd shown previously, but I had gotten a great package from Jonas that had some stunty records in it too. But after Jonas at Vinyl Stockholm, I'll link below, after he highlighted the Silence label, I immediately went into sort of like, oh yeah, I knew about the Silence label, but I was like, okay, here's some other records I don't know about that are gettable, and I was able to get about 5 records from Jonas. But I'm going to show one of those and another one that I was able to get from a seller here, Smooth Six Lights again. This guy, where I'm basically buying his collection. This is the record Kebnekaise number 2 that I got from Jonas, and this is the first album, Kebnekaise Resa Mat Okänt Mal, I guess it is, on the Silence label. Let's see, these are from 1971 and 72, I think it is. What a striking cover. Now this is the original pressing here. Just beautiful artwork. And even more beautiful labels. But that's part of it for me. Or not more beautiful, but you know, you'll see in the other one they're really beautiful. And this is a jamming band. This is a jamming, loose, sort of almost lo-fi, but great players. A lot of folk influence. There's strings that happen on here. I'll talk about both records at the same time. I've been listening to these a ton. This is number 2. This is one of the runs from Jonas, and this label design is a stunner on the Silence label, Kebnekaise. So very progressive, jamming, but good. I don't want to call it jam band, but it's just good jamming, just kind of loose and freewheeling and psychedelic. Members were from the Mecky Mark Band and the Baby Grandmothers. I guess some of them ended up here. And they would go on to do, I think, 4 or 5 records all the way up until 78. I had 6 albums total. I don't have any of those, but probably good here, but really loving where these guys come from and how they do it. Really good guitar sound. Not a ton of vocals, I wrote, but some, and just very loose. There's a few times where they experiment with like chipmunky vocals, which I don't know that I care for that, but I'm fine with it. Full-length records, just stunners, just real fun, good summary albums. At times, I really hear like there's a droney quality to this, where there's like that folky drone thing that can happen with like there's a bunch of violin. At times, they do sound almost like a Swedish Fairport convention. I really think so. So the first 2 albums from Kebnekaise on Silence. Really sweet records. This is one I also got from Jonas, part of the deal, Fläsket Brinner. Another one that, I think he said this, the translation of this is, the pork is burning. And it looks like a scorched pig or a scorched, what do you call it? Scorched pork. But this is the first album, 1971. They did have a second, maybe a third record also unsilenced, as Jonas had told me when I was getting it. This is not the very first. It's probably a second pressing, but very, very soon after the first issue. And it kind of follows a little bit. It's a little similar to the Fläsket Brinner, a little more heavy, a little more sort of drony, perhaps, but very similar. Instrumental, I believe, almost all. We have saxophone, orgel, drums. Yeah, it's a band. It's a band with instruments. But they have some interesting roots. This is members that came from a band called Atlantic Ocean, which have a pretty rare record on the Finnish label Love. And some of those members went on to Jason's Fleece and Handjort. And some of those members started Fläsket Brinner. And you do have Bo Hansen, the legendary Bo Hansen, guesting on one of these songs. Yes, Boss's Lot, and he plays on it, and then I guess he would play with them live too at this time, and that's his song. And also playing live with them sometimes one of those Swedish jazz legends, Bobo Stenson, on piano. So he'll turn up on, I guess he turned up in the band live. I don't know if he's on this. He's not credited anyway. Bo Hansen is on that one track. So really excellent, another excellent Swedish silence prog record, basically. There's a little bit of like a medieval tone to it, which I'm cool with, and a little crudeness. I like the lo-fi feel to it. I like repetition. There's a repetition that I like about this record. But out of Stockholm, yeah, gritty, odd, and burning, as you can see. Ork, Fläsket Brinner. Two more records, a band everyone knows, but I got these two from Lance at Permanent Records, from one of his Instagram nightly sales, and I've been trying to close out this band's catalog. I've been slowly going through these as best I can, trying to get them. They're pretty, not too hard to get. They're hard to get decent copies, but here we have, the fourth and the sixth records by Popol Vuh. This is the fourth album, Seligpreisung. This is sort of, they've moved on from their early electronic period, and they've really moved into like an almost new age cosmic music, seeking type music. Of course, Florian Frick is the main driving force, playing piano, as well as the cembalo. We have Connie Witt, e-guitar, 12-string guitar, Daniel Fleischer, e-guitar, drums, and congas. Favorite for me, Klaus Weiss on tambura. He would be on 2 or 3 Popol Vuh records, and of course those solo records that I've so loved. And then we have also Robert Aliscu, who was in Between. He's on this playing oboe, and this is the first German pressing. Nice to get this from Lance here in the US. Made in Germany sticker again. This is their first after Hosanna Mantra. This is for the Kosmisch Couriers label, I guess it is, right? Or just the Kosmisch label. You know, this label here. I guess it was a part of Or, right? 1973. And this, yeah, it's really Frick making these soaring piano ballads, some vocals. Definitely a less electronic piece, but still atmospheric. You know, they're definitely starting to have that world influence in there. Just beautiful piano aspect playing on this, and like soaring guitar once again. Oh yeah, and there's a little bit of some motoric drumming on A3, Selig Sin. Yeah, long titles here. Long titles. But I really love these early 70s Popol Vuh records. And also to that same, on that same note, their sixth record. I don't have the fifth one. Or do I? I forget. This is also, well, this is a little later, but Einjäger and Siebenjäger. on PDU. This is the Italian pressing, so not a German pressing, but this has some more, like, really, again, Frick, there he is playing piano, but the guitar playing on this is just second to none, by Daniel Fleischer. And that track, the second track, King Minos, I got to know that pretty well from the soul jazz compilation, the 2 soul jazz Krautrock compilations. I think there's 3. Deutsch, I forget what it's called. I'll have to insert an image of it here. But that track is featured on that comp. Yeah, what's the story with this one? No Klaus Weiss. Still lots of piano, upright piano, spinet, and Jong Yoon, the guest vocalist, is on the final track, which is really a lovely send-off. Oh, it's the long track. It's the title track. These PDU labels. But yeah, the second title track, the side B is the title track. It's a beautiful suite and has some great vocals towards the end of it. So big fan of this one. I'm still looking for a couple other key Popol Vuh records that I really want to have. It's mainly one. Maybe the harder one to get, but Hosanna Mantra, that's the one I really need. So yeah, nice to get those 2 in the US from Permanent Records. Final record we have is an African highlife record from Ghana. Itubam Rex Williams, a trumpeter, and big career in highlife. These are pretty inexpensive. Of course, the issue is always the condition of these African records. This is from 1973. Found this also at Soul Stop in Buffalo on the Philips label. This is a Nigerian pressing. This is the first pressing. Pretty cool to get that there for like $30. It's not terribly expensive, and this is a decent plain copy. As it, the pretty flimsy sleeve, but not horrible, not destroyed. And Itubam, he led the different bands, the Nigerian Artistes, also the reggae heroes of Nigeria, and the NATO Funky All Stars. There is a bit of a dubby reggae feel to this highlife. He put out a bunch of music until 1984, very funky. Like I said, a bit of a dub quality in the bass, and man, I just forgot this record. Wow, that last track had me totally confused. Some soulful vocals and just a nice high life record, and isn't that a nice cover? This one does not credit any of his bands. Like every other record he has, credits one of his bands, whether it's the Nigerian Artistes, Reggae Heroes of Nigeria, or the NATO Funky All Stars. So a nice, fun high life record to usher in the summer with. Here on this vinyl Absorption, try to be a little bit peppier today. Hope to see everyone soon. Maybe I'll see some of these shows. I don't know, but we'll see. And otherwise, yeah, thanks so much for everyone, and thanks for all the feedback on the Tom Waits video. Got a lot of, I thought I might get a bunch of comments on that. Hope everyone's doing well, and take care.